Oklahoma State at West Virginia, college football action on Saturday, October 21st. Got the Cowboys on the road here, and the Mountaineers, both teams coming in with a 4-2 record in this one. Total open 52.5 and moved down to as low as 49, but has since bounced back up to 50 here. West Virginia, 3.5 point favorite. And this one was as low as -2, I saw. West Virginia in a pretty good groove, certainly at home, but this has been a good series for Oklahoma State. But let's take a look. All right, for last year, 24-19 in favor of West Virginia, and they were. Let's see. What is it? Oh, Oklahoma State 6-1-1 against the spread in the last 8 meetings against these in this matchup, but I'm not sure if it's really that good for Oklahoma State necessarily this year. You see what recently what Oklahoma State, we already talked about that loss at home to South Alabama, 33-7. Now maybe they've turned it around here with a couple of strong performances of late. Of course, they beat Kansas 39-32. They beat Kansas State for a couple of covers. So maybe Oklahoma State has turned it around. West Virginia lost last week, 41-39 on the road at Houston. We had Houston in that game. But before that, West Virginia was on a string of 4 straight covers. So I just feel like maybe Oklahoma State, they had, 2 consecutive home games to kind of get healthy a little bit with their record. West Virginia coming off 2 straight games on the road. And, I want to kind of be on West Virginia here, it feels like to me. At home. This is usually let's see, what was the other scores in this one? These two teams have been playing this series now for years here. Last year, the total unders in this series, last 4 meetings under. Last year, 43 points. Year before, 27. The year before, 40. The year before, 33. It's going to happen again, I'm sure. But let me just go on the record here with Virginia and this West Virginia and this one at home. Yeah, we want to get under that 3 and a hook. Probably we'll pay the extra juice to do it. But I'm going to take West Virginia in this one to get it done against Oklahoma State at home and cover the number. West Virginia 15-5-1 against the spread in their last 21 home games. So series history definitely with Oklahoma State here of late. The Wisconsin Badgers going to take on the Illinois Fighting Illini, and Wisconsin on the road here, favored by 2.5. And the total at 42. In this one, Wisconsin opened at -2 or so, was bet up to 3.5, then to 4, then here came the action on Illinois. So it kind of looks sharp to a certain extent, because it definitely seems like there's some significant action here on the Illini, which I don't know, might catch some people by surprise, considering where these You've got Wisconsin here, right? And yeah, has there been some issues for Illinois so far at 3-4? Maybe that's where they're supposed to be. Wisconsin comes in with a 4-2 record, but they're just 1-4 against the spread. 1-4-1 against the spread so far. Illinois is one of the worst spread teams in the country at 1-6 right now. They have not looked good at all. But they're probably live here, is what it feels like to me. They've just got to cut down the turnovers. Altmaier's he's thrown 9 interceptions so far this season. Last year, Illinois won the game 34-10 in Wisconsin. So you do got some revenge factor here. But before that, Wisconsin won in here 24-0. You see that total at 42, and that, I don't know, it feels like that, feels like we're in for some Big Ten action here for sure. You got Illinois always going under at home right now. Just seems like clockwork. Wisconsin, not going to trust them as a road favorite here, I'm afraid, right now. Mordecai has just 3 touchdown passes so far this season. They have some issues scoring just 6 points last week against Iowa. Did have a road win at Purdue for Wisconsin, but Illinois, they did come up with a win last week at Maryland. That was big. They were a 13-point underdog, and they got that win. They were off 2 straight losses. They lost at Purdue. If you want a comparison here, Wisconsin won at Purdue 38-17, while Illinois lost at Purdue 44-19, and those were in consecutive weeks, I believe. Yeah. Wisconsin at Purdue was on September 22nd, and a week later, Illinois was at Purdue. But I don't trust Wisconsin here in this spot. I never trust Illinois necessarily right now, but I wish we were getting, and maybe that's an indicator because you can't get a 3 or a 3.5 here necessarily right now. Wisconsin feels like a public side, so maybe we can get a little bit. Illinois is 0-4 at home. Thus far, so I've got to try them here. I'm gonna be on Illinois plus 2.5. Yeah, I'm gonna buy it up personally to 3.5, maybe even a little bit more, whatever I can afford, and just try Illinois here because I can't get on Wisconsin, a team that hasn't looked great on the road in general, kind of dating back to last season. I'm not going to necessarily count. They lost at Iowa last November, this time of year, 24-10. They edged Nebraska last year this week, 15-14. So give me Illinois, close game, close, low scoring, ugly game. That's the way it's going to be, typical here. And I am going to take Illinois plus 2.5, I'm afraid, here against Wisconsin. Just got to do it. The numbers are indicating to do so. It does seem like the money, the sharp action also seems to indicate this. So I've got to take Illinois here. Well, speaking of ugly action in the Big Ten, oh boy. Well, they're going to be getting down here with the old Florida Rosedale Trophy, and this one is like pig slop, so it fits appropriately here to get that fat pig trophy if you can win this one, and maybe it's appropriate. this season with Minnesota and Iowa. Iowa, of course, coming in undefeated at home, 6-1 overall. They do some fun things, huh? Wasn't that women's basketball game exhibition against DePaul? That looked fun for the Iowa fans. Iowa here, a 3.5 point favorite in this one. The total 32.5. Oh boy. Feels like the total's too high, doesn't it, you guys? Could I really talk myself into an under? I think I can. Because I think my numbers have it close to 29. So why wouldn't I take an under here in this one? Uh, Iowa's gone under in 9 of their last 12 games. And so far, they've gone under in 2 straight. They won at Wisconsin last week, 15-6. They won at Purdue, 20-14. And it hasn't been all under city necessarily this season. For Minnesota, they're 3-3, but I've got to think under here against Iowa on the road. Minnesota played at North Carolina for their only other maybe comparable game and lost 31-13. And maybe North Carolina with their quarterback a little bit better. They were outgained in that game by 216 yards. And they've been outgained in a lot of these games, particularly in the passing department. I'm talking about Minnesota and Iowa as well. Both teams have been outgained by their opponents. The funny thing about Iowa, for the fact that they've won the last 3 games, they've been outgained by their opponent by over 250 yards in the 3 games combined. And they still covered 2 of them. That's positive. I think that's a positive. Minnesota still running the ball pretty decent. Iowa here opened as 5.5. They did get a 6 earlier, but now it's all the way down to 3.5. And well, there was some steam that came in on Minnesota, not just now. That wasn't that steam you just heard. I'm talking about in general. Some widely reported steam had already come in on Minnesota. So I'm going to take the under here, another under for me at 32.5. Nothing I can do. I mean, the look ahead was 36.5, but that was, never going to be had. Now, you could have had 33.5, I think, on Sunday. Circa, when we were on that show on Sunday doing the opening lines report, it opened 31.5 at Circa, interestingly enough. So, if anything, maybe there is a tiny bit of value here. Oh boy, I got bad news here. One of the games that I'm going to give out here, I believe in a few minutes, has just went steamed. Oh well. Minnesota is like that TV show, like Coach, like the show Coach. Is that what? Because that's what they're trying, right, with the colors and everything. I think that's what they tried to. Woo boy! Look at this one, Tennessee and Alabama coming at you this weekend, and this should be fun. Certainly one of the games of the day with Tennessee 5-1, Alabama 6-1. Look out. Alabama right now, could they be, of all things, Alabama in position to maybe somehow find their way back to the BCS championship playoffs if they end up with just 1 loss? Seems feasible, doesn't it? And a lot to shake down. You can't do any missteps or anything like that. But considering where we were just a couple of weeks ago and couldn't figure out if Alabama was ever going to figure things out, and we don't know if they even have yet necessarily. But it seems like the defense right now is in pretty strong form, and I would imagine they'll have a pretty. I think they might have a pretty successful day here against Milton and the Vols. Milrose kind of found his way a little bit. Milrose thrown for more. Remember, Milrow, even with the fact that the other quarterbacks have gotten in there a little bit, Milrow has more yards passing than Milton this season. Last season, of course, was a wild game. The winning team has scored 52 points in each game in the last 2 years here. Of course, last season was one of the games of the year, remember, with Tennessee winning 52-49. This series usually has been a high scoring game. I talk about those scores, but I don't know if I see it here in this one, man. I feel like this is I've got it. I've got it under. I don't know if I can get away from the fact that first of all, Alabama's been better and better over the years, but Alabama's gotten the number here as well. I do think Alabama maybe can win this one by double digits. That might be the way I'd look. Tennessee's covering numbers, no doubt about it. They're 4-2 against the spread. Alabama just 4-3 in their 7 games, but both teams, combined allowed just 33 points per game. Now when they're dealing with better, very good teams here, and usually Tennessee, these are enough points, but Tennessee, of course, they won and covered 3 straight since that loss to Florida, including conference games against South Carolina and Texas A&M. For Alabama, they've on a winning streak certainly, but they didn't get the money last week against Arkansas in that game. They only won by 3 points, and they were laying 19 points. But I've got the under in this one as my play. I think if anything, you look at the Alabama win against Ole Miss, and they won 24-10 in that one, and maybe we could see a similar score here. Remember, Tennessee, they played a home-heavy schedule. They've had just one true road game so far. It was in conference against Florida, and the final score was 29-16 in favor of the Gators. So give me the under here. And Alabama, they opened 9. It went down. It's been anywhere from 8 to 10, but I'm taking the an under as my play here on the show. And maybe Thomas is going to go on Bama here in this one. Okay, well, let me refresh the line because just not 5 minutes ago, as I sat here, you might have heard it in the background. Steam play came in. It was on the under in this game. This is my play. I'll just go out and say it right now since I'm already. It opened 44.5 when we were doing the opening lines report, and it went down to 44. It went down to 42.5. It's down now to 41. So I already like the under. This is Northwestern and Nebraska after all. And how Nebraska is a 12-point favorite over anybody is probably could do a whole 20 minutes on that and then kick me off the air. So I'm not liking that spread at all, especially with the Northwestern, Northwestern team that, I don't know, they fought pretty hard this year, I thought, given all the circumstances. Now, uh, Nebraska, uh, 6 of their last 8 home games have gone under. 6 of their last 8 conference games have gone under. And, they're not doing anything offensively. They're pathetic. Now, at least with Northwestern, you have an experienced quarterback and uh, Bryant, but Sullivan's been in there. But for uh, Nebraska, no matter who you got, when you got Harburg in there, you got Sims or whatever, it's just been, yeah, sure, they scored 35 points against Northern Illinois, 28 against Louisiana Tech, but 14 at Colorado, 10 at Minnesota, 7 against the Wolverines. We're going to throw that one out when we're comparing them to this game. But they did have the great performance, of course, uh, against Illinois, and they are on a bye here. And Northwestern's on a bye, off of a bye as well. So I don't see Nebraska. Never laying double digits with Nebraska. So I don't know if you want to call it a double play or not. I might be saving Northwestern for a premium because I don't know if I trust. But Nebraska is 3-3 against the spread. Northwestern is 2-4 ATS. So give me the under here. Let me update it to 41. Let's be transparent here. Give me the under. Northwestern. Thomas is going to lay even more points. He'll take it up to 2 touchdowns. I've got one more game to look at here in this one, and it's going to be, well, I think we could, let's see, how can I categorize this one here? I'd say a fun one. That's what it's going to be when you got South Carolina and Missouri, because Missouri's just been terrific so far. And what a story! I don't know if anybody saw this coming with their 6-1 record right now. Obviously, some people did. They're only 4-3 against the spread. Now, granted, the uh, spread losses were early in the season, laying big numbers when against weak conference teams. So they didn't cover 4 touchdowns. I'm holding in the yawns, you guys. It's hard. South beat South Dakota by 25 points, 4-touchdown favorite, and they beat Middle by 4 as a 3-touchdown favorite. But since then, it's been pretty much all systems go, except a 10-point loss at home to LSU, and they failed in that one. They've gone over in 5 straight, and I would think this one, I don't know, it's already at 60.5 after opening 56.5. Oh boy. And man, kind of was going to I was thinking about giving out the side, but this total's totally getting away from me too. And these two teams are combined 10-3 to the over thus far. Feels like it's going to be a very high scoring game. We've missed out on some pretty big value though here. Thus far, so I'm thinking about switching it up, but I'll still take Missouri here to roll and get this money here against South Carolina. If I'm going to have to lay some points as a favorite, I'll just do it here with Missouri. They usually don't fare very well in the role of a considerable favorite against subpar teams, but after all, Thomas Lewis is going to lay the points, and you got Cook, right? Maybe one of the better matchups of quarterbacks this weekend with Rattler going up against Cook. Cook's got 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions so far this season. So this series has been a total under, but South Carolina on the road, sometimes their defense can give it up big time, especially against teams that do produce well on offense. And considering that South Carolina also has gone over in 3 straight, including giving up 41 points at Tennessee, they did allow just 14 points to Georgia. So, yeah, and it's funny. You think of Rattler, 1,700 yards so far this season for Rattler, 11-4 touchdown to interception ratio. But both teams comparable in yards per attempt. Missouri a little better. Certainly. 9 of the last 11 meetings between these two have gone under, but I don't think we've seen Missouri's offense be quite as good as it is this season. That total, though, up 4 points so far. I almost wanted to switch there. I say switch. I'm not totally sold on either Missouri as a premium or over as a premium, but right now I think at 7.5, because Missouri did open 6 and went up to 7.5. So let me give that as a free play, laying that hook. And I'll still reserve the total. I could still go over 60.5 as a premium.